Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton and CJ Vogel. Time for this week's edition of the Recruiting Breakdown. Going to talk about San Jose State visitors, get you a Derrek Cooper update, look ahead at members of that number one ranked class in 2025 that we can expect to see over the next few weeks. We'll do that in just a minute. But, Gerry, before we do anything else, got to let everybody know about our good friend and great All-State agent, Mark Saunders.
Yeah, when it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? That is great. And so I got the guy for you. Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need if you got a home, a car, a boat, motorcycle, RV, and ATV. If you got all of it, call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Texas alum Mark Saunders has over 35 years of experience in the industry. That means you'll be in great hands. Again, if you're in the Austin and Round Rock area or the entire state of Texas, give them a call, 512-218-8571.
Well, guys, I wish we were doing this coming off of a Texas win, but we're not. Such is life. But regardless, I want to get into this real quick. Gerry, we've seen recruitment sometimes over the years where one game may flip things. Sometimes it's not a big deal. But as we sit here today, a big season opener like this in the NIL era, Gerry, will the result of one game drastically impact a recruitment, either for a guy Texas is still recruiting or any of the current commitments?
No, not really. The thing where one loss affects you in recruiting is if you end up with not having the type of season people think you are, and then things start to compound a little bit, and then there gets some, opens you up in some recruitments in a head-to-head situation potentially. But no, look, Texas played, and the TV ratings aren't out yet, but I'm sure they're going to be extremely high. Texas played one of the marquee games in college football, and, it's like Cedric Baxter said. He said, we go to places like this to play in these games. And that's the thing that's always forgotten in the wins versus loss scenario coming out of these games from a recruiting standpoint. These are the games kids want to play in. And that is still always – and Texas has been the 2 straight college football playoffs. They're ranked in the top 10. Now, if you go on and you lose at Florida, you lose at Georgia, you lose to Oklahoma or A&M, and you miss the playoffs and you're 8-4, then you're going to open yourself up a little bit more. But still, we're in the NIL day and age, and recruiting is a lot of times just purely transactional, even though people don't want to hear that. So I think Texas is fine.
All right, well, let's move on. Gerry, I'll stick with you. Derrek Cooper, as expected, made a visit to the Miami-Notre Dame game. Great game, by the way, on Sunday down at Hard Rock Stadium. What's the latest, Gerry, if anything, to note on Derrek Cooper?
Yeah, so the main thing I'm going to say is Miami will keep going after James Johnson and Derrek Cooper, 2 Texas commitments from South Florida, even though James Johnson's originally North Fort Myers guy. And I jokingly said on these shows and every other show, I would go to that game too. If you're not, you're kind of crazy. And if you live down there, right? I mean, it's an opportunity to go watch a great college football game in a great environment. That doesn't mean kids are going to start flipping and going elsewhere. It just doesn't work that way. But what I will say is Derrek, and I talked to a source close to the recruitment, Derrek Cooper scheduled to be in Austin for his official visit September 20th. That's the bye week for Chaminade and Madonna. That's going to be that's going to be Texas' first big recruiting weekend, by the way. They're going to have a lot of guys at that game because it's a night game. You're going to have out-of-state guys. You're going to have 2027 guys, which we'll get to later on. But I think Miami will work to get them on campus again for another game this year, which I would go to. Cedric Baxter with the 2 FSU games, Jarrett Gibson with a couple of Florida games. It's going to happen. Texas is going to get guys on campus committed elsewhere to their games. That's just part of it. But I don't think one game changes the narrative of a recruitment. But again, it kind of goes back to what we said earlier. If Miami goes on and has a great season and Texas stumbles this season, well, then you open yourself up a little bit. But then you also have the NIL factor that comes into play as well. Miami already has 1 running back in their class. Texas's Derrek Cooper is their guy in the class. So there is some difference there in how people are recruiting. The 2 schools are recruiting Derrek Cooper. But I think Texas is as good a spot as they can be with Derrek Cooper in the NIL day and age. Same with James Johnson.
CJ, Texas has an 11 a.m. kick against San Jose State coming up on Saturday. First opportunity this season for Sark and company to host recruits. What are you looking forward to as far as recruits being in the house on Saturday for the home opener?
Yeah, it's a tough kickoff time to balance recruits. Of course, the Texas staff will be able to hang out with them afterward, kind of meet with them after. But a lot of those conversations come on the field, right? When you have a packed house, when, the coaches are making their way through pregame warmups, looking over on the sideline and seeing these guys saying, hey, envision yourself playing here well at 11 a.m. How packed will it be for San Jose State? I'm sure it won't have as much luster there as some of these 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. kickoffs that they'll have later on. And we're expecting many more visitors in those 2 weekends following this upcoming weekend. But a couple of visitors of note that will be on campus. The first, Trey Moore, the number 1 wide receiver in the state of Texas for the class of 27, making the short trip in from Pflugerville with a couple of teammates. This is big. Why? Because he told me originally the only Texas game that he was originally set to visit for was Texas A&M in the last week of November. So if that's still the plan, if he is still expecting to make it to campus for that game, 2 visits for the Longhorns is key, especially with this one coming so early in the season. Of course, he's been to Texas 4 or 5 times. He's been to A&M about 4 times. Now you're starting to see the separation between Texas A&M, and the rest of the pack. I believe a decision will come between the 2, but plenty of other campuses that he's hoping to get to as well. 2 other 2028 prospects I want to mention. The first CE King athlete, Dylan Mitchell. I know we're talking about 28s here, but look, he ran a 10-1 and consistently runs in the 10-2s as a freshman in high school. Only about 5'8", 150 pounds. But, hey, that speed is absolutely electric, and he's more than just a track star. They call him Superman down there in Houston, and that's for his play on the football field. Another prospect I wanted to mention coming out of Cyprus is Armani Edwards, 6'6", 300-pound left tackle that's been starting on varsity since he was a freshman. He's earned an Ole Miss offer already. He announced he will be making his way to campus this weekend as well. So a lot of 28s, a couple of 27s coming in this weekend, but more and more this list will expand as the week continues, and a lot of these guys get the weekend schedules finalized as the week continues.
And by the way, recruiting news oftentimes breaks at weird times. So I literally just got a text from a family member of Kavian Bryant. They are going to be at Texas September 20th for the Sam Houston State game. They were considering coming for San Jose State. I also think that's when Texas wants a lot of these guys. They want them at the night game. It is your best show in recruiting is a big game or a night game. 11 a.m. games are tough because you're traveling. Kids have Saturday morning requirements at their high schools. So Kavian Bryant will be on campus for Sam Houston State. That Sam Houston State weekend will be packed. That's when Derrek Cooper, I think you'll see out-of-state guys because they can fly in for the night game there that have Friday night games. I think that Sam Houston State game is going to be the one where it's a packed house for recruits, as you'd expect with it being a night game. But that was just some news right there on Kavian Bryant. The 2027 quarterback from Palestine West with the in-state offer and the only offer right now.
100%. And the catbird seat to be the quarterback take for Texas in a 2027 class. CJ, I want to go back to you real quick. When you look at whether it's 27s or 28s, we talk about the 11 a.m. kick, and Gerry, for a guy like Kavian Bryant, that's a pretty early wake up and driving down to Austin, especially after a Friday night game. But CJ, we talk about Texas needing to take care of business in their backyard, the impact a guy like Jahdae Barron has had in the greater Austin area. This is a really good chance for a guy like Trey Moore, a highly touted guy from right down the road. These 11 a.m. kicks are really good opportunities to make sure you're inviting local guys that you like are on the radar, to get them to campus, get them familiar with your program, and get them familiar with the staff.
Yeah, especially very early in their recruitments, right? You'll see a lot of 28s, a lot of 27s. Texas will be hosting Vincent Moody, an edge rusher from Killeen as well. He was at Oklahoma this past weekend. So there's a number of guys from the area where 11 a.m. kick, it kind of suits more to getting those young guys from your backyard on campus to see a game. Appease some of these coaches who are looking for Texas to make rounds, maybe a little bit more than what they had in recent cycles with the national approach. So I think that's a big part of it, to your point, Jeff. And of course, that visitors list, it won't be it won't be shallow, if that makes sense, at any point in these home games. Of course, you only get a couple this season, so Texas looking to make the most of it, given the theme of this weekend, early morning. Keep these guys close to home and close to Austin.
I tell recruits, fans, coaches, anybody that asks, you only get 6 of them, so make them all count. Gerry, before we make the rest of this count, one more time, let everybody know why, if they've got any insurance needs, they need to go see our good friend Mark Saunders.
Yeah, Texas alum and Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means she's the only insurance agent you'll need. And with over 35 years of experience, that's the guy I would call. Give Mark Saunders a call today, 512-218-8571. Do what so many other On Texas Football community members have done. That is call Mark Saunders to get everything taken care of, from your home, car, boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV, a one-stop shop. He'll take care of all your insurance needs.
Guys, I want to close this out talking about the 2025 recruiting class, because Sark, one of the comments he made in the Monday press conference that perked my ears up were, hey, a lot of guys that didn't play against Ohio State, we're going to have to count on them in the next few weeks, these next 3 non-conference games. Gerry, I want to start with you because CJ and I have already talked about this. We talked about this on the Monday live stream after the press conference. Sark's comment about the wide receiver position really stood out to me, because he said, hey, if there was a next wide receiver that was going to go in after Dalen McCutcheon, it was going to be Ryan Niblett. Make of that what you will for Jamie French, Khalil Lockett, and Michael Terry. But, Gerry, I got to feel like these next 3 games, in terms of wide receiver depth, establishing depth, the eyeballs on the wide receiver position, it might be the most critical 3 weeks for that position group above all the others. And when you're talking about young guys needing to develop.
Yeah, I think so. And then there's also the expectations that come for these kids who are highly recruited and they're ranked really high out of high school. Khalil Lockett and Jamie French expect to play. They want to play. And I do think that the next 3 weeks we'll see those guys get some playing time. And we'll see how much, and a lot of that's going to depend on how the games go and what Sark wants to get out of these games. But I do think you'll see Dalen McCutcheon play more, especially, look, it's going to be 140 on the field Saturday. I mean, these guys are going to be, and if San Jose State throws it 40 times or tries to in that game, it's going to be a slow game, a long time on the field, and a lot of snaps for Texas. So that'll be interesting to me. So I think you're going to see these guys play. The question is how much and who's going to be throwing them the ball when they're in the game is the other piece of that, right? I mean, because Sark wants Arch to have continuity with the guys that he's going to be throwing it to in Gainesville. So how is this all going to work? But I do think you'll see all those guys hit the field in some capacity, whether it be 3 snaps, whether it be 5 snaps. Some guys get 20 in some games. I think we're definitely going to see it at the wide receiver position.
CJ, we know we're going to see a lot of these young guys outside of the wide receivers, or maybe it's the wide receivers that are top of mind for you. Which position groups or recruits, true freshmen from that 2025 class specifically, are you looking forward to seeing over the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think a big one for me is Nick Townsend. You know, he was on the field in that first quarter. He didn't see more than about 2, maybe 3 snaps maximum. But, hey, that first snap that he was on the field, he was asked to dig out an edge rusher, and he did just that to create a gain of about 5 yards in the running game. But more than that, Texas was in 12 personnel a ton. We know that Jordan Washington is going to be a piece Texas utilizes in the pass game as well. But can Nick Townsend become a guy that Texas relies on, just like Jack Indries, vertically down the field, right? Because I do think when Texas has Spencer Shannon and Jack Indries on the field, I think defenses kind of hone in on just one of those guys being a threat in the passing game. Well, if Texas can have that same consistency in the run game in 12 personnel without sacrificing any of that physicality or blocking up front, while also adding 2 tight ends to the vertical passing threat, well, then you just unleashed another part of your offense that wasn't in the horseshoe for the season opener. So I'm looking at Nick Townsend to see how he can carve out a role. On top of that, Texas didn't have any 20 personnel. You know, they didn't have any 2-back looks. Can a Christian Clark, can a James Simon really start to scratch the surface to allow Texas to get more versatile in those packages?
Gerry, really 3 true freshmen that we saw on the field taking actual positional snaps against Ohio State. And I don't think the 3 names are surprising. It was Nick Townsend, Grayson Littleton, and Lance Jackson. Along with those 3 guys, Gerry, we've already talked about wide receivers, but which other guys are you anxious to see get some snaps over the next 3 weeks?
You're going to see more Justice Terry, right? We're going to see more Justice Terry at that power edge spot. You're going to see some McCade Phillips at corner. I think you're going to see, we're going to see some of Nick Brooks at offensive tackle. I don't think there's any doubt that's coming as well. And you go down, then you start thinking about some other guys. Where's Emory Winston in his rehab on his shoulder? Is he going to be if he's good to go, then I think you'll start to see him as well at tight end. But Elijah Barnes at linebacker, I think you're going to see Elijah Barnes. So the big question for me, guys, is zealous. Some of those defensive backs too, but where's Jonah Williams going to be at? Yeah. When is he actually going to hit and I think it's going to be because of how much time he's missed in the return game and special teams. But are we going to see him in Saturday? I don't know. Or is it going to go on later? Because in talking to a source close to him last Thursday, I don't know if he'll be ready to go this week. But I do think we're going to start to see all those guys, the guys that are going to play this year, what kind of role they're going to have. But Justice Terry and Lance Jackson will play more. You're going to see Nick Brooks at offensive tackle. You're going to see Cade Phillips out there at corner some. And I think you'll potentially see Zealous Hicks a little bit. Question is, where's Jonah Williams' hamstring? Because that's a big one. Because I think he can help Texas in the return game this season.
Yeah, and Gerry, with the guys defensively, you said it already. I mean, you're having an 11 o'clock kick, and anybody that's been in DKR for one of these 11 a.m. kicks this early in the season, they can get real soupy real fast. On top of the fact that you're playing a run and shoot team in San Jose State that they may want to throw it 60 times. So if you're anybody on defense, Sark said they were planning on playing upwards of 30 guys on defense against Ohio State. Didn't work out. Gerry, if you're a scholarship defensive player, you might be counting on getting some snaps in this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're going to get snaps in this game because, again, I'll say this too. I think this game can get as out of hand as Sark wants it to. And that's no disrespect to San Jose State, but I just watched Central Michigan run it up the gut on them for 250 yards. I mean, so that's not a good sign. And that was at home, by the way. It's not a good sign when you're going into Austin. It's going to be 1,000 degrees on the field, and you're in San Jose, California. That's not a good match for you. But I think you're going to see a lot of these guys on defense. Elijah Barnes, too. I mentioned him. I think those guys are going to get snaps, and you're going to see those guys start to make some plays and see who can maybe put themselves in position the next 3 weeks to help Texas come SEC time.
CJ, I'll give you the last word. Gerry mentioned it earlier, just Arch continuing to build rapport with that receiver group. If they do get into some quarterback depth, do you want to see KJ Lacey? Do you need to see KJ Lacey? What's your take on how much of KJ Lacey, if any, we see this week or the next 3 weeks?
I want to see a lot of them, and again, I think this is an opportunity where Texas over the next 3 weeks, they understand what's ahead, right? It's a great opportunity for the offense, one, to click, but two, for a lot of these young guys to get on the field. And look, you're going to need these guys to get on the field. Texas needs a Dalen McCutcheon to be a reliable piece. They need that Grayson Littleton solidify himself as a guy that they can start and play 50 snaps a game in that secondary, right? And the same goes for Lance Jackson and Justice Terry, all the 5-star guys that they brought in. They need them to become rotational pieces. Nick Townsend, as I mentioned. But for KJ Lacey, and again, knocking on wood here, but should something happen to Arch Manning, my bet is that KJ Lacey is the guy that Texas rolls out there for the duration of the season. He has too much playmaking ability, and he is too elusive in the back end to continue on what Texas has already installed this fall with the waggles, with the movement of the pockets. Legs save quarterbacks and legs save drives. Texas obviously saw that a couple times with Arch Manning, just rolling out against Ohio State. And I think KJ Lacey has more of that than anybody in that quarterback room. I think he's the best playmaker, not named Arch Manning, in this quarterback room. And should he go down, it's KJ, who I think Texas would roll with for the time that he is on the sideline.
Gerry, any final thoughts on KJ Lacey or anything else?
Yes, on anything else, yes. Diabell and Derrek Cooper play each other this Friday. Obviously, we will be in Austin. We're heavy on Texas game, but that will be a lot of social media will be around that game because it's two of the top players in the state of Florida. Just so happens to be they're both committed to Texas. Also, Tyler Atkinson made his return to the field last Friday, had 6 tackles, 6 quarterback hurries. He missed the first 2 games with an ankle injury. Good to see him back. But some of the early reports was, hey, he might be out for a while this year, but he didn't wear a boot, wasn't on crutches, anything like that in their season opener. So he did make his return after missing the first 2 games of the season due to some sort of ankle injury, which obviously means he's good to go. 6 tackles, 6 quarterback hurries, but huge game in South Florida. Diabell, Derrek Cooper, Friday. It's a big one.
Shamanamana.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Gerry, CJ, thank you guys for the knowledge and expertise. As always, thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. Thank you to Mark Saunders for sponsoring it. If you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, get over to the site right now. Sign up using the promo code OTFOG, and that'll get you 1 year of access at ontexasfootball.com for $39.95. Also, make sure you like this video and that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. That way, whether it's here on the channel or over on the site, you're not missing anything before, during, and after every Texas game of the 2025 season. For CJ, for Gerry, for Matthew, for Mark Saunders, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, welcome.